Good morning. I'm Linda with Pinky Mouse Cakes, Cookies, and Candy. Pinky Mouse Sisters in the kitchen. And Mary was going to cook today from her house, but she had to take Chuck and Chuck's dog back to the vet this morning. So I told her that I already had something ready and that I would cook. So I'm just making something really fast and fun today. Well, I don't know how fast it'll be, but it doesn't take long to do it because I'm using some shortcuts. So welcome to our page. And if you're new, we thank you so much for joining, for finding us and for watching us. And we are not a group, we are a public page. So if you watch us on Facebook, make sure to watch us on this page, not on one of the pages that are not authorized. This is the only Pinky Mouse Facebook page that is ours. So they take our videos and put them on other pages and act like they're us, but this is our site. We've had this site for quite a while. So we're going to be making cream cheese puff pastries, and I am using the bought dough. And if you want to make your own, feel free to do so. I didn't want to do that on air because I wanted this to be just something fun and quick and fairly easy. And there's nothing wrong with taking a few shortcuts every now and then. You know, you don't always have to do everything from scratch, but this is kind of semi homemade. So, and I will be giving something away later on in the program. Carla is on the other end monitoring. Thank you, Carla, for being with me. And I think that Mary is watching. I think she just got back, so she's watching too. So I have separated one egg, and I'm going to use the egg white to brush the pastry dough with. So I've got that in my little prep bowl here. And I've got the egg yolk. If you break your yolk, don't worry about it because this is not anything that's going to matter if there's a little yellow in your white because we're just brushing pastry. But I've got my egg yolk here, and I've got 8 ounces of cream cheese. This is softened. You want it to be at room temperature, and I do use the full fat. If you want to use the low fat, you can. But I find when doing recipes, it's best to use the full fat and not use the reduced fat. So my recipe's over here. I think I probably remember it, but I guess I better get it over here to make sure that I don't leave something out. So we got the store-bought puff pastry. You can use any brand. This is just what I picked up the other day. And this is, it's one sheet and it's 13.2 ounces. But again, don't worry about it if you don't have the exact brand or if it's not the same size. I'm going to show you how to cut them in a minute when we get all this done, but we're going to make our filling first. So this is, I'm going to add to this 3 tablespoons of Imperial granulated sugar. We are sponsored by Imperial. This is super fine sugar, and it's really excellent for baking. So that is 3 tablespoons full of sugar. I got the egg. I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. If you want to use 1 or if you want to use 3, you can. Don't use over 3. If you want to put some lemon zest in it, you can do that. But I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. So I've got my my cream cheese, my egg yolk, my Imperial ground sugar, the lemon juice, and the 8 ounces of cream cheese. And I'm also going to put 1 teaspoon of vanilla in here. Oh, and I've got my oven preheated at 400. Some will tell you to cook it at 375. Some will tell you to cook it at 425. But I'm going in the middle and I'm doing 400. So I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Make sure I get all that in there. This is good stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to mix this with my cordless mixer here. Doesn't take long at all to mix it. Well, I'm trying to do this with one hand. I don't do well with one hand anymore. I usually have to have two. So I'm just going to beat this up real good. You want it nice and smooth, so that doesn't take long at all to do. And so I'm going to set this aside here, and then I'm going to go ahead and just beat my egg white. I tried to get all this stuff where I wouldn't have to be moving, but my arms are not very long, so sometimes I have to reach around. Okay, I'm just going to use the mini whisk. I just want to beat this until it's kind of frothy. And somebody asked me the other day what was frothy, and you see that like little bubbles in there. That's how you want it. So I'm going to set this aside, and I am going to get my pastry mat on here. I probably should put that lid on that bowl. These little prep bowls are really nice because you don't have to worry about knocking them over. They have lids to go with them. So I'm going to just kind of wet my counter here. I used to love these when they had them at hotels, when we were staying in hotels. By the way, Kathy, if you're watching, hi Kathy, my friend from California. Sometimes they didn't, sometimes they would have the good pastries on the breakfast buffet, and I always loved it when they had the cream cheese danishes. It was just something that I enjoyed. They're not real sweet, but they're crispy and they got good texture to them. So I'm going to lightly flour. This is just all-purpose flour. I didn't measure it. I just put a little bit in my bowl, and I'm just going to dust it. And I'm gonna need that again in a minute, so I'm not gonna put my flour up. This chair is in my way, and I'm fixing to move this. All right, now I gotta go wash my hands and wash my rag out a minute here. Y'all bear with me. After we get these in the oven, I'm going to show y'all a piece of the cake that I did the other day. Several people asked me about it, and I never did post pictures, so I'm going to show y'all a picture of that in a little bit. So, now when you're doing this puff pastry, you don't want it to dry out, so don't open it until you're ready to use it, and because you don't want it to dry out. So it's going to be wrapped up in lots of sheets of, or a big sheet of this parchment. So I'm just going to unroll it. If it's not quite at room temperature, you can stick it in the microwave, but you definitely don't want to do it at like 5 or 6 seconds because you don't want to ruin your dough. Okay, put this aside over here. This is about I think it's a 9 by 14 inch sheet. And I'm going to move it, and I'm going to dust it with a little bit more flour because I don't want it to stick to my rolling pin. And I should have put this straight with my measurements on my pastry mat here, but I didn't get it straight, and I'm not going to pick it up. I'm also just kind of dusting my rolling pin here, just a pinch. You don't want to roll it out much, and you don't want to press hard on it. And we're going to cut this into 4-inch squares. And this, I believe, is going to make 6 if I calculated right. I'm going to use my bench scraper here to cut these. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. This might not be exactly perfect, but I'm kind of going by my markings here on my pastry mat. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 4. There's going to be a little bit left here on the end. Just move that aside, and then we're going to cut this in half. So this might, actually it might be a little more than 4 inches. It is going to be a little bit more. Let me trim this edge of this end just a little bit. And I'll do the same down here. They're not going to be a perfect 4-inch square, but again, it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. Okay, so this one on the end is definitely a little longer. Might just cut just a pinch more of this one off. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut these. I was going to say I was going to cut them in half, but if I cut them in half, that's going to be too big. So let me see if I can get a marker here and mark this where this is 4 inches. I just mark it with my hand. I just washed them. They're going to be a little bit bigger than 4, but I'm not going to worry about that if they are. One thing when you're baking, you want to try to have your items about the same size because they will bake about the same time. Now, I'm not going to throw this extra dough away. I'm going to find something to do with it. It's a shame they don't make these like a 4x16 or something, and then you would have even amounts. But okay, I got my little 4-inch squares here. I'm just going to separate them because I want to be able to get the edges brushed with my egg white. Okay, so I'll probably just do one package on air. So I'm going to brush just a little bit of egg white around the edges. This is going to help seal it, and it also gives it a nice shine too. And I'm only going to do a couple at a time because I don't want that to dry out before I get my filling in there. Now these are not real big. If you wanted to make them bigger, and that way you wouldn't have this extra left with odd sizes, you could do that. So this is a 2 tablespoon cookie scoop, and you don't want to put the full cookie scoop in there. I'm just going to do this with a little bit of butter. I saved my butter wrappers this morning, so just so it don't stick. Just kind of butter that a little bit. So I'm not going to do a complete full scoop. Probably about, I don't know, maybe like this. But first of all, before I do that, I forgot I got to fold my little corners in. You're going to make something that looks kind of like a little envelope. And you're going to fold your corners in. Don't fold them all the way because you want a little bit of space in the middle. Actually, Just press them down real lightly. And then I'm going to do this one the same way. Move this one over here. These are so cute. Okay, now I'm going to do 2 at a time. So I've got, now if you put too much filling in them, it's going to run out. So I may have just a little bit too much in this. You want a little over a tablespoon in each one. Oh, and one thing that I forgot to do also, you want to go ahead and brush this whole thing. And I don't know if I put that on the instructions on the recipe, but you want to brush this whole thing before you put your filling in. So that one I didn't. Okay. Now I got to brush this because I didn't do that before I put my filling in it. Okay, and then I'm going to move these over here. I got my pans over there. I'm using a baking sheet, and I'm just using Silpat. If you want to use a Silpat as a silicone mat, if you want to use that, if you want to use parchment, you could use parchment. It would do the same thing. I just, I don't want them to stick, so, and they won't stick on the silicone mats. And this recipe is supposed to make 8, but I made a little bit of apple filling because Mike is not a big cream cheese eater. Well, he's not a cream cheese eater at all. I shouldn't even said that because I can fix it to where he'll eat it in in a dessert, but he doesn't like it. So I have to put a lot of lemon in it if he eats it. So you want to do your pastry real good with the egg wash. So I made some apple for him. Now this doesn't look like much filling in here, but trust me, it's going to be enough for this little tiny square here. Put a little bit more in that one. Okay, we got 2 more to do here, and I'm going to do these 2 in apple. But you don't want to put but 4 on your cookie sheet because you don't want to crowd it. Or if you're using a baking sheet like I'm using, and I'll show you how I'm going to put them on there. I'm going to kind of stagger it because you want to give the pastry room to puff. Now on the recipe for our members, I put this apple filling on there also. And if you looked at it first thing this morning, and then you go back and look at it again, you'll see that I had Linda to make a few adjustments on the apple filling. So don't think you were nuts if you printed it up and then I showed you another way here, because I did make a little bit of adjustment. Now I've got 1 apple here. This was a Honeycrisp apple, but you can use any kind you've got. I usually try to keep some apples. It's chopped, and it's got 1 tablespoon of imperial granulated sugar. You don't want much. 1 tablespoon of water. I think actually I put 2 tablespoons of water in here. And you can kind of tell how your apple is, the size of it. I put about 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I mixed up about a tablespoon of cornstarch with about a tablespoon of water. You always want to use cold, or I don't mean ice cold, but room temperature water when you're mixing up cornstarch. If you don't, it's not going to ever get smooth. So always remember that when you're doing cornstarch. And don't put that in there until it's all ready till the apple's done. It doesn't take long to do this apple. I fix this a lot of times to go over oatmeal for Mike. He loves it over oatmeal. and he doesn't like anything real sweet. So this is just really fits the bill for that. And then you want to cool it completely. After your apples are done, stir in the cornstarch. Make sure you stir it real good and real quick. Don't put it in there and walk off. It'll lump up. It needs to be stirred. And then take it off the burner. Add just about half a teaspoon of butter and fourth or half a teaspoon of vanilla. Mix it up and then put it in a container and let it cool. So I'm going to put this in here. I'm actually putting a little bit more in this than I did the cream cheese because I think Mike is going to want a little bit more in his. Okay, now you can do this with blueberries. You can do raspberries. A lot of people love raspberries. Raspberry is not actually something that I use a lot of. I know a lot of people do. I prefer blackberries or blueberries to raspberries. You can do blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, apple, any kind of fruit that you wanted to fix like a little compote, you could use that. So I'm going to get my pan here, and I'm not cooking but one pan at a time. So I just don't like cooking on the bottom of my oven when I'm cooking something like a cookie or a pastry or something. I very seldom ever use but one rack in the oven. You want to put it in the middle rack in your oven. If you have to adjust it, make sure you do that before you start cooking it. And I'm just going to put these on here. And you want to kind of stagger them. You don't want them to be lined up like soldiers, because you want them to have plenty of room to cook and spread out. So now it looks like I could get another one on there, and I could. I hope I'm not doing the wrong thing, but I am going to put another one on there just because it looks like it's room enough to put another one. I'll move those over just a pinch. Now you see how that slid on that silicone mat? It's not going to stick. It won't ever stick if you use a silicone mat. So I'm going to pop these in the oven. I'm going to set the timer for about 12 minutes, and I'm going to check them. And while that's cooking, I'm going to fix a glaze to go with it. I've got another pan here, but I want to do the glaze, so I'll do that. I'll do that next. I'll just set this aside for right now. Actually, I'm going to set this in the refrigerator. I'm going to set my eggs back in the refrigerator too, because you don't know when you're cooking like this and you do one thing, and then before you know it, you've got something sitting out with eggs on it, and it's been an hour and a half or 2 hours. I am not real big on that, so I'm setting both of these back in the refrigerator just for now. More than likely, people would think I'm a little bit overboard with it, but I just would rather be safe than sorry. And yes, I've got an extra one sitting out here too, so that's going to have the egg in it. So maybe I'm defeating my purpose setting the rest of that in there, but I am. Okay, so I'm just going to fold this over right here just to have some room, and I'm going to get my mixer back out. And I'm going to mix a glaze to go in this. Now, everybody that's made these, they're not real sweet. And I think I mentioned that earlier. So you can make a little glaze to go over them, and it not only makes them taste good, it also, I do that every time, makes them just a little bit sweeter. And this is just a real simple little glaze. It's imperial powdered sugar, and I'm using a cup, and I'm using 2 tablespoons of milk. Make sure, drizzle 2 tablespoons, and this is whole milk. If you don't have whole milk, you got 2%, use that. If you want to use half and half, you want to use heavy whipping cream, use that. Just use what you got. But I'm using whole milk. And then I'm also going to put a teaspoon of vanilla in it. And you know what? I'm going to get my clear vanilla because that's going to make that be a dark color, and I don't want it dark. I want it to be pretty. So I'm going to use my clear vanilla for this. And for those of you who might wonder where to get this, this is Watkins. A lot of different stores carry Watkins. You can order it on Amazon. A lot of flea markets have it. Wilton also makes, I'm just gonna guesstimate this. Wilton makes clear vanilla. I like Watkins the best. This has a really good flavor to it, and it is not 100% extract, but it's better. It has a better flavor, in my opinion, than Wilton's does. So I'm just going to mix this up. You don't even have to use a mixer. You can use a whisk if you want to. But I just like mixing my stuff up with a mixer. That smells so delicious. Okay, pop these out, and my battery out, and I'm going to show y'all what I did with my almond cake that I made the other day. Now this was the almond cream heart cake, so you can see how pretty and white it is. So what I did was I made, I didn't even decorate the sides. I made I guess you could call it like a well. You can do it by hand or you can use a bag. Just cut the end of it off and put some buttercream in it. You want to leave a pretty good space on the end because you want a wide well, probably 3/4 or an inch, and you're just going to go around the edge of your cake, whether it's a heart cake, a round cake, a square cake. This works for any like that. So you've got a well. You've already got buttercream. You do what they call a crumb coat, and so you've already got a layer, a thin layer of buttercream on your cake. But then you make this well, and you got a little hole to put whatever you want to put in. So if y'all remember, I made the fresh strawberry puree. So I drizzled puree on the bottom, on the first. I put that on there first, and then I took some strawberry jam, and I covered that hole in strawberry jam, and then I let it set, and then I put buttercream on it. Now I made something like this for Mary's birthday cake at Bear Creek. If y'all remember, I put the pineapple filling and then I put the buttercream on top, and I had so many people ask me, how did I do that? Because normally when you put something like a filling, whether it's strawberry, pineapple, whatever it is, on top of buttercream, it's very hard to put buttercream on top of that filling because it mixes in with it. But what you have to do is you have to do it in steps. After you put your strawberry puree on the layer, on top of the thin layer of buttercream, then you fill it with whatever filling you're using. If it's pineapple, if it's peach, strawberry, whatever you're using, set it in the refrigerator. Don't cover it. Set it in the refrigerator. And I know that I have a little advantage because, you know, I bake for so long for the public. I have a special refrigerator just for baked goods. And so there's no savory smells in it, like a cut onion. Even though you wrap them, sometimes that smell can get in other things, or like bell peppers or bacon. Those are real strong smells in your refrigerator. So this refrigerator in my utility room is just for baked stuff. Nuts, buttercream, frostings, icings, cakes. So when I want to put a cake in there uncovered, I can, and I don't have to worry about it absorbing those other odors that I don't want in my cake. So you set it in there, you let it get completely cold, and then you take another layer of buttercream. You have to be very careful with it so it doesn't mix in with your filling, and then you can put a layer of buttercream on top of that. So it can be done. It just takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of time. So I'll show y'all how this looks. So you can see it's white, and then I've got the strawberry jam, and then I've got almonds on top of that. And these are just sliced almonds. I did not toast them, and they give a lot of crunch to it, and they give texture to this cake. And if y'all will notice this cake, it looks real dense. This cake recipe is something like, it's on the order of a pound cake, but it's not a pound cake. The first time I made that cake, I thought, well, this looks like a pound cake. It's really not, but it just kind of gives you that illusion because it is a dense cake, but it is a delicious cake. You can make an almond drizzle and put over it if you don't want to do strawberry, and then cover it with the sliced almonds, and that's what I did when I did it the first time. It had a totally different frosting on it, and I won't go into that now because it's a completely other recipe. But it was delicious, and this is delicious. It's delicious with the buttercream. It's delicious with the flour, with the other. It's a cooked flour frosting recipe, and it's a recipe that I think they used years ago, back when I was a kid, and probably a lot earlier than that. So I'm anxious to see what these are going to taste like. So I'm going to, let's see how much time we got left. I was going to say I'd pull the phone over here and see if there were any questions. That I'm going to check my pastries. Yep, they definitely are not done, and it's showing that it's got 2 more minutes, but they're not going to be ready in 2 more minutes, so. Okay, so I just set the timer for 5 more minutes because they're still pretty pale in there. So I think I will bring the stand over here and see if there's any questions that I can answer. I hate moving this because usually when I do, it bumps it. The other frosting for the heart cake. Maybe one of these days I will do that. I don't have the recipe in front of me. It's a cooked flour with sugar, and it's I know that my mama used this recipe before, even though I didn't get the recipe from her. I will try to, I have it, I know where it's at, but I'd have to go back in the back room, and I'm not going to do that because I'd be off the camera too long. But I will make sure that I do try to get that out, and either make it on live one day, or either put the recipe on our members page. Mike is not a baker. He has made some cupcakes or a cake every once in a while, not often in our marriage, but he cooks really good savory things. He's very good at seasoning meats. In fact, a lot of times after I get a dish ready or get everything prepped, I'll ask him to come and season it because he's very good with that. But he's not a baker. But he does cook. He does know how to cook, although he doesn't do very much anymore. He cooked breakfast the other morning for us, and it was really good. But he doesn't cook like he used to. Okay, we didn't decide what we were looking for on the comments for our giveaway, but I'll go ahead and show y'all what I'm giving away. Well, I may have already told y'all that in case y'all hear me grunting, I twisted the wrong way in there this morning trying to get something down in that storeroom. It's a bedroom, but it's full of totes, and every time I move a certain way, I can feel that. I don't know what I did, but anyway, I've done it before, so I know it'll go away. It's just kind of a little irritating. this is a tapered rolling pin. It's Peppered Chef. And this is what I'm giving away today. The one you'll get, whoever wins is new, of course. The mixer that I'm using is Pampered Chef. It's it's called Flex Plus Multi Prep Set. It's two other items with it, two other items plus has a food processor and has immersion blender and then all the attachments. So it's part of a set. I use the mixer more than I use the other attachments. Even though I have used them, I use the mixer the most. So, and if y'all don't know, Mary and I both do sell Pampered Chef, and we have Facebook pages for that. We can't talk a lot about that on this page. I love this tapered rolling pin. I have the marble one. Okay, I see Carla sent me a message, but I can't go off. I can't go to it until I get off, because if I do, it'll knock me off air. I almost pushed it, but I don't want to do that. So I think she's probably has picked a winner. Baking is my passion. There's two things in my life that I have always enjoyed. Music longer than baking, because I've loved music ever since I was probably a toddler. So it's just something that is a huge part of me. And I have an old piano. It is over 100 years old. I love to play and I love to sing. And from time to time, when we do sing, we get comments about, most of the comments we get are wonderful, but we get comments about it being out of tune. Why don't I get it fixed? Why don't I get the keys reconditioned? I'm going to be 75 in May, and I would love to have a baby grand. I've never had one. I've played one many times, played one in the church for years, but it's too late in my life to do anything like that. And there are things that not that music is not important to me, it is, but that because this piano is old and I've had it tuned several times, it doesn't hold the tune as well as a newer piano. And I bought this piano probably, my buzzer's is going off, so let me check my pastries. Okay, they are not quite brown as I want them. So I'm going to cook them another few minutes, and I chose to cook them at 400. I probably could have cooked them at 425 and they would have got brown quicker, but I'm going to let them cook just a little bit longer before I take them out. I chose this piano when I went in Denham Piano Company. That's where I got my first piano when I was 12 years old. Was Mom and Daddy bought it from Denham Piano Company in Lufkin. And so when we lived in Kilgore for a few years, and I went down there and bought this piano. It was the first one I played. They have a huge warehouse of pianos, and this is the first one I played, and that's the one that I bought. But I also had another piano, and it was a Yamaha, and I bought it, I believe I bought it when I was 18 years old. I had just started working at the telephone office, and I bought myself a piano. So it is about 57, 58 years old. So when Sister Jean called me back, I don't know, a few years ago, and she had my piano, my Yamaha piano. She called me and she asked me, and for those of you who don't know, Sister Jean is a family friend. She passed away in July of 2021. It's been almost about a year and a half since she passed away of COVID. So she called me and she said, Linda, do you want your piano back? And I said, I'd love to have my piano back. So Chuck went after it and brought it home. And I knew that Mary would get one of the pianos because, I don't have room for two. And besides, it would have been selfish of me to keep both pianos when, we have a lot of gatherings at Mary's house. So it just made sense to give her one of the pianos. So And I originally had planned to keep the Yamaha and let her have the old upright. But I said, that would be so much trouble to move this upright when the other one is already in the closed trailer, and it would be a lot easier for them to just take it out of there and take it in her house than it would to move mine and then move the Yamaha back in here. So long story short, I gave Mary the Yamaha. Okay, my buzzer's going off again. Let me move the camera over here so y'all can see these, because I'm going to move them to the cooling rack here. I'll go ahead and stop this. So it looks like I probably could have pushed my little seams down a little bit more. But, and some of my apple filling come out, and you'll see how that cream cheese filling spread. So I'm going to move these to the wire rack because they need to be cooled before I put, you can tell they're crispy. They need to be cooled before I put the drizzle on them. So I'm going to have to let them cool at least just a few minutes. And then we'll put the drizzle on it. Okay, and I'm gonna move this pan over here to cool, and I'll just use the same pan when I cook the rest of them, but I'll cook them off air. So, see if you can see those. They look really good, but they need to cool a little bit before I put the drizzle on them. So I'm going to bring this back over here and just let those sit for a few minutes because I'm going to finish telling my story. So Chuck just went ahead and took the Yamaha to Mary's house. So, you know, Mary's girls will get the pianos when we're gone. So one of them will get one and one of them will get the other. I think Carla's going to get the old one, the upright one, and Linda's going to get the Yamaha. So, and then, you know, whenever they get to where they no longer want the pianos, then one of their girls will get it. So, and she's got four girls. Linda doesn't have any girls, but she's got two boys. So anyway, we'll be long gone by then. So, you know, they can do whatever they want to with them as long as they keep them in the family. And I want to make sure they know that, because I was young when I bought that Yamaha. I remember so well when I bought it. I was so happy and so proud. And of course, the upright one was, you know, just cost a fraction of what the Yamaha did. But anyway, I just wanted to tell that little story. So we have a piano at both houses. So when where the family's at, we can play and sing. And it's not, you know, it's not about perfection. We are not perfectionists. I am not a professional musician. I do not play by music. I play by ear. I don't read music. I play from my heart and I play by ear. And that's what I've done all my life. So, so for those of you, you know, who find it necessary to say something about it, you know, we do this because we love to sing, and we know that, you know, the girls, they have beautiful voices. All the girls do. And, but we still like to sing. The Bible says make a joyful noise unto the Lord. And that's what we're doing. We're not doing it to try to act like, you know, we're top-notch singers or anything, but we do love to sing. Okay, the cookbook that we have is recipes from the Old Home Place 2. The first one is out of print. We won't ever print that one again. And but we do have copies of the recipes from the Old Home Place 2. We also have Mama's book, which is Mama's Story of Love and Hope. For those who are new to our page, our family suffered a tragedy in 1964, and Mother wrote about this, and she also wrote a lot of history, family history, Nacogdoches County history, and kind of how our family went through this tragedy, which is it's a small part of the book, but it's her story, and it's a very inspirational story that is available on our website. We also have our aprons. We have pink aprons and white aprons, and we have a few little kid aprons, and they're red. So, and that website is www.pinkymosskitchen.com. We print invoices twice a week right now, and we hope to have more merchandise in by the spring. And at that time, we'll be printing more than twice a week. So if you order something, it should be going out within a few days, within like 3 or 4 days, it should be going out by then. Make sure when you're putting your address in that it's a complete address, because we've had many recipe books, many mama's books come back to us. We have to pick up the postage for return. We paid the postage to mail it, and then we have to pay the postage to mail it again. So we lose money on the sale. We lose money on the book. So make sure that your correct address is in there when you place an order. Okay, let's see. I know I've missed... there are some people that have asked us, can we ship to Canada? And I'm ashamed of myself because I have not been able to get that information or to get you a price. And the answer is yes, we can ship to Canada. We don't advertise it, and we don't do it often because it costs a lot of money to ship a book to Canada. I think maybe the one that I sent was like close to $30, and this was back last year. It's probably more than that now. If you happen to be on the United States border and you have someone on the United States side that you could have it sent to and then retrieve it from them, that would be an option. But we have to key in the shipping manually if you do order from Canada. And what we've done in the past, we have got the price, which that means we have to take it to either the post office or the UPS store, get them to weigh it, key in the address. They tell us how much it's going to be. Then we have to send you a message back and say, do you want to pay this for it? And we feel really bad because postage is already expensive in the United States. So if you want to pay that, you certainly can order one. But it's just, we just hate for y'all to have to pay that kind of postage. And I know I've shipped a couple of things overseas, and it's cost anywhere from $30 to $70 just for a little tiny package. So it is very expensive. So if you're willing to pay it, we're not making any money off. We don't even charge for packaging this stuff up. But if you're willing to pay it, we certainly don't mind sending it. It just, may take a little while to get it. Okay, so let me check and see if I think those are cool enough that we can do a little drizzle on there. I don't want it to melt, so I'm going to move my stand again, so bear with me. I miss my sister. She's always good at doing this. So I'm going to get a pot holder over here. Well, I don't guess I need a pot holder because I've got it on this. Now these are a little bit, they went down a little bit in their puffiness, but I'm just going to pick one here. You can see they're really nice and brown on the bottom. I've got my glaze here, and instead of putting this in a bag, I'm just going to use my whisk, and I'll show y'all how I'm going to do that. And if you want to line them all up so you can do them like they do in a bakery and do them all at one time, you can. I guess I probably do need to do more than just one. And Mike will eat one of these apples, but he's not going to eat one of these cream cheese. I know that. You want to make sure that you get your drizzle all the way to the edge, because that's going to make these taste really, really good. And it also kind of seals that apple in that was kind of just on top there. Now these need to be put on a pretty platter to show what they look like, but you know, they actually were a little bit too warm for me to do that drizzle. So when I make the rest of them, I'll do a pretty drizzle on them so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to move this because I don't want to eat over the other food, but I'm going to just take a little bite of this. Thank you, Lord, for this food. So yummy. Really, really good. There's my right. You can taste just a little bit of that lemon. I didn't put a whole lot in it because I didn't want to take away from the cream cheese. But you definitely can taste the lemon. And the puff pastry is nice and crunchy. And the little drizzle, it just makes it a little sweet. So I hope y'all enjoyed this today. It's something I think you could even let your kids help you make, or your grandkids. I hope that y'all will join us tomorrow. Mary and I, Lord willing, will be together cooking at her house. We do have some rain and some thunderstorms supposed to be moving in tomorrow evening or tomorrow night. But Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. We will be together tomorrow cooking, so be sure to join us for that. And I will have to get back on here and put the winner of the rolling pin. I'll do it. I won't do a video, but I'll do a post. And if the winner will please text me your address, and I need it by 10 o'clock tomorrow. Text it to 903-238-3993. That's 903-238-3993. And we'll get this in the mail to you, but we do need your address within 24 hours. Please do not put it in comments. That is just a nightmare trying to go back and find them, because before the day is over, we'll have thousands of comments, and sometimes it takes us 2 or 3 days to even see all the comments. And I don't know why that's how it works, but it is. And you can spend a lot of time going back, and even when you find it, you can spend a lot of time going back and going through comments to find it. So text it to my number, 903-238-3993. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to be kind. Always count your blessings. Mary and I are so very thankful for each and every one of you. And we thank you that you watch us and that you love us, you pray for us, and you support us. And we do not take that lightly. So we'll see y'all tomorrow, God willing. Love y'all, and I'll be announcing the winner in just a few minutes on here. So make sure the winner gets that address to me so we can get this mail to you. Bye-bye.